Welcome back. More than 9 months into the pandemic, congressional leaders have finally reached an agreement on a second COVID-19 economic relief package. Joining us now to tell us more about upcoming stimulus checks and what the new relief package is exactly is Councilmember of District 16, Vanessa Gibson. Welcome, Councilmember. Always a pleasure having you on the show.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you as well. I hope you enjoyed with you and your family. Council members, to start off, let's just get right into it. Can you tell us about the new COVID-19 economic relief package? Just a general overview and how much money has been allocated in total in this package.
Right. So recently, Congress, both the House and the U.S. Senate, passed a stimulus package about $900 billion last week. And the package includes a spending bill to keep the federal government funded for the rest of the fiscal year and really avert a government shutdown. That's number one. And it also provides a lot of relief and protections for Americans. And so there are $600 stimulus payments for adults earning up to $75,000. A family of four would receive $2,400, and the checks are capped at individuals that make more than $99,000. There's an extension of unemployment benefits of up to $300 per week, and the benefit can kick in as early as this week, and it would run until late March of next year. There's an additional $100 a week to dual income earners. There's about $284 billion for businesses to receive the Paycheck Protection Program. There's also money for newspaper, radio, TV producers, about $15 billion for performance venues and independent movie theaters. Senator Chuck Schumer was really advocating for that. And then there's also money that really focuses on the infrastructure. There's about $20 billion to assist states with testing, tracing around COVID-19, $8 billion for vaccine distribution, $82 billion for colleges and schools, about $4 billion for the MTA, which we desperately need, $13 billion in nutrition assistance. I hope that means SNAP benefits and more money for food, farming, and agriculture. There's about $25 billion for rental assistance, $7 billion for broadband access. And then the eviction moratorium was extended to January 31st of next year. It was set to expire this week. And then there's also money for an extension of local and state governments to spend money allocated under the earlier March CARES stimulus package that was passed ahead of the deadline of December 31st. There is a lot in this. $900 billion is a lot of money. But I think obviously where we fall short is supporting a lot of states like New York that have huge fiscal deficits, as well as New York City. And then also, I think a lot of criticism on the actual stimulus payments because $600 is a smidgen. It's a drop in the bucket. So there is talk, and I do understand that the House introduced a bill yesterday that they passed that would increase that $600 to $2,000 as a one-time stimulus payment. There's no action just yet on the part of U.S. Senate. Senate Mitch McConnell, that still remains in limbo as to whether the Senate will act as well on this amendment.
Thank you so much, Councilmember, for breaking down the allocation of the funds of the $900 billion. $9 billion, is it?
900, 900.
$900 billion. Yeah, that is a lot of money. Thank you for breaking it down for us. Council member, in your opinion, going back to those individual stimulus checks, is $600 enough to help Bronxites who are struggling with high unemployment rates, rent insecurity, and food insecurity during this pandemic? What is your opinion on that?
Absolutely not. It's a slap in the face. $600 stimulus payment isn't enough to even meet monthly rent. I don't know anyone in our district of the Bronx, even those that have a studio apartment, that pay $600 a month in rent. So it doesn't even meet a lot of the minimum necessities that families need today. And you talked about food insecurity, the high need to get residents access to healthy food, paying your rent, paying your mortgage, providing stability for your family, a roof over your head, clothing on your back. I mean, none of that. $600 is a down payment. And I think many of us are looking for the remainder of that payment because it's been months since we passed the CARES Act. months ago, and there's been no relief provided. There's been so much of an impasse at Congress between the House and the Senate. Obviously, we had to get through the midterm elections, the election of the incoming president and vice president. And so now that all of that is behind us, I think a lot of us are very focused on Georgia, on the 2 U.S. Senate seats that we need to capture and turn blue. And then ultimately, we will have the majority of the U.S. Senate in Democratic control.
And as you stated, Councilwomen, the House just recently overwhelmingly voted to raise the stimulus check payment from $600 to $2,000 after Trump's proposal, I believe it was.
Yes.
And this now leaves the action to the Senate, as you said. What are your thoughts on this, and what is the likelihood of another stimulus check coming through in the next couple weeks or the next couple months?
Well, I want to applaud House Democrats, particularly the New York delegation, all of our amazing members of Congress that represent us in New York State. I thank them for their leadership and joining with all of their colleagues in the House to really support this. I think it's meaningful, it's significant, and it really does send a message, a very loud message, that it's time for the federal government to step up and show us that they not only care about Americans, but they are in leadership positions to help America rebound from this COVID-19 pandemic that has hit Americans the hardest, Americans of color, low income families, homeowners, small businesses struggling, closing, can't meet payroll, can't survive, no customer base, cities shutting down, COVID cases are rising. I mean, that's what we've been living with since March. It's really real out there. And I need, the members, not just in the House, but in the U.S. Senate, which is where we have the impasse. So it is my hope and expectation that a lot of pressure will be put on Senator Mitch McConnell and his leadership team, and the U.S. Senate does act. The amended version, I think, is obviously much better. $2,000 is much, much better. That can allow a family to pay their monthly rent. Many of them are behind months in rent. And so we know, again, it's short-term relief for long-term problems. But I think $2,000 sends a much louder message to the country that we care and we are ready and able and willing to help Americans during their greatest time of need.
Absolutely. And as we all know, the last check anyone received was about 8 months ago. And leaders on both sides have been negotiating and compromising for months now on this second relief package, which was just passed. To put it plainly, Councilwoman, what exactly took so long for this new package to be passed?
Politics, elections, campaigns. I think all of that very relative in this year of a presidential election in which, we, the Democrats, really wanted to overturn and get higher numbers in terms of record levels of voter turnout. I think it speaks volumes to a lot of the issues that we fundamentally believe in and we care about and want to be addressed by the presidential administration. And I think people are waking up. They're frustrated with this president. They have seen, the divisiveness, the rhetoric, a lot of his tactics that have not been productive nor beneficial to Americans, everyday Americans, and certainly New York State. He's not been a friend to our state, to our city. He's been critical of the governor and the mayor. He uses Twitter to attack and criticize everyone. No one can lead a country like that. And I think everyday Bronxites have seen that. And that's why they came out in record numbers back in November. And so putting all of that together in the middle of, an election season, a presidential race, the political climate, the landscape, that's why you had this impasse and why so many months have passed since we saw the last stimulus payment. But I think the time is now. We're ending this year on a very painful note. We've lost thousands of Americans, thousands of New Yorkers, thousands of Bronxites, predominantly older, underlying health conditions, people of color. We have to show leadership and we have to end this year with some level of optimism, right? People have to hope that things will get better. Give us something to go on. Give us a chance to say, you know what? We've seen what we've endured all this year. And now here's a stimulus check. Here's support for your businesses. Here's eviction prevention. Here's rent relief, tax relief, support for transportation, test and tracing, COVID-19 testing. Give us something so that we can hope for a better tomorrow and a brighter new year.
Right. Sounds like wishful thinking, and I hope that that does happen in the new year. I
Yep.
wanted to go back on the allocation to tenants as well, Councilwoman. According
Mhm.
to the Aspen Institute, nearly 40 million Americans could face eviction over the next several months. Will $25 billion in rental assistance be enough to help prevent these evictions? Well, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't ever think it's enough. I think it's a step forward. It's a level of progress. It's a start. It should not be the end. It is the floor, not the ceiling. We should always aim high and improve. And I'm hoping that our incoming President Biden and Vice President Harris will lead by demonstrating that we need more support on rental assistance, even right here in New York, even right here in New York City. We believe there are 30,000 pending evictions starting in June of this year. Landlords waiting to evict tenants who are months behind in rent, who've lost income, lost employment, and they can't meet rent. Even the first stimulus payment of $1,200, you can pay something towards your rent, but you can't cover the whole amount. So a lot of people have rental arrears. Those that have been and are able have been able to pay their rent, but a lot have not. And we realize that. And I also want to recognize the homeowners that struggle too. We don't talk about homeowners and co op owners and residents that own their apartment. They're struggling too. And, some of our small time landlords, they don't own thousands and thousands of units of housing. They are small landlords that are predominantly landlords of color. They've reached out to my office and they're struggling and they feel like no one is giving them an outlet. And I think all of this is very relative to the efforts to prevent eviction, to provide legal representation and assistance on the ground. What we've done with our right to counsel in New York City, we've pushed and pushed, and we want to expand to all zip codes in New York City because we know the need is there. We want to prevent evictions on the front end so people don't end up homeless in a homeless shelter because of COVID. And thankfully, the legislature yesterday just passed the Eviction Prevention Act, the Foreclosure Act, which I'm very proud of. And shout out to Senate Majority Leader Stuart Cousins and Assembly Speaker Hasty and all of the leaders and members of the Assembly and Senate for passing a very comprehensive bill that really has all of those components. It helps tenants, it helps renters, it helps homeowners, and it helps small time landlords because we don't want to forget about some of these partners that are providing a service in terms of housing, but they're struggling too. So again, I think everything is a step forward, but the 25 billion in federal assistance is again, it's a step. It's not the only thing we should be getting. We should take it and use it to expand and cover as many people as we can. But we also should be demanding more in the new administration when they reconvene back in again in January.
Yes, thank you so much, Councilmember. And I'm glad you brought up that the Emergency Eviction and Foreclosure Prevention Act. It's allegedly, well, it is the strongest bill in the nation to block eviction proceedings from going forward. So proud to hear that that was just passed. Thank you again for your time, Councilmember. Before we go, can you close with a little message to Bronxites for the new year? This is airing on January 5th, so it'll air after the new year.
Sure. Hello, Bronxites. I wish you and your families a healthy and happy new year. We are in this beautiful new year of 2021, and we have an opportunity to do so much better. 2020 was a hard, challenging, painful, heartbreaking year for many, many of us. We've lost family members, friends, neighbors to COVID-19. It has been a real setback for us in the Bronx. But if you understand, every setback is preparation for a comeback, and we have to come back this year better than ever before with optimism, with hope for a better tomorrow for our children, for our families. So we are going to work together. We are going to be united like never before because we are all in this together. Happy New Year to you and your families. And I pray that you have a prosperous, healthy, happy, and productive 2021. Feliz Año Nuevo. Happy New Year to everyone. God bless you guys.
Folks back at
Okay.
home, according to the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, since the new stimulus bill sets a January 15th deadline for the IRS to send out payments, people who will receive their second stimulus check in the mail, either as a paper check or prepaid debit card, should look for the payment in the first 3 weeks of January. We'll be right back.